recording it. Okay, I think what we were discussing was we have created the contracts yesterday. We have created a normal contract, we have created a central contract, and we also have created something called a quantity contract with item category M, that is material unknown. So we have a different type of contract. Okay, so that is what we call it as a value contract. Let's go and try to discuss what is value contract. Assume it. Let me give you an example. For example, normally this value contract is used in cases where you have the AMCs, annual maintenance contracts. For example, you have been procuring the Dell, let's say, hardware, be it laptops or what you call the desktops, any other services which you are procuring from Dell. You might be having annual maintenance contract. For example, for whatever the machines, the laptops or desktops, if it is not working, you will be giving a call to them, and they come, they see what is the problem, and then in case if the issue is within the contract, either they replace the component or they repair it and give it to you. Right, so that's how you will be using it. So let's say in this case, what am I trying to say is, while creating the contract, you might not be knowing what exactly the problem that you may get it in your hardware. Okay, maybe for some laptops RAM might be gone, RAM might not work in future, or maybe for some other hardware, probably CPU may not work, or maybe it could be any reason. Due to whatever reason, if something is not working, in that case you may have to raise a request for the supplier, in this case the vendor Dell, and then get it done. Right, so at the time of creation of a contract, you cannot foresee the problems that you may encounter in the future period. So therefore, what you do is, while creating contract, you use item category called W, that is what we call it as material group. That means you are going to raise an order for materials or services having same material group, but the price will be different. Obviously, for a certain laptop, if RAM is not working, you may have to replace the RAM. Maybe for other laptop, maybe hardware or the hard disk got corrupted, so he may have to replace the hard disk. Obviously, the price of RAM will be definitely different from the price of hard disk. So therefore, the point to be remembered here, in case of value contracts having item category group W, that is material group, is all the materials that should be covered as part of value contract should belongs to same material group, but they will be having different prices. In this case, RAM price will be different from CPU price, or will be different from hard disk price. So this contract is also used to extend the scope of the contract, by adding more and more materials belongs to same material group but with a different price. Such kind of scenario is handled using value contract. So in case of value contract, you do not specify the total quantity requirement, as this is not a quantity contract, but rather you specify the total value. Like all the AMCs are value based contracts. AMC is nothing but annual maintenance contract. All these AMCs are value based contracts. So while creating contract, instead of specifying quantity, you specify a value which should cover within a specific period of time, that is starting period and ending period, and you specify a generic description at the material description level and you use item category. Okay, therefore this contract can be used or referred while procuring materials and services belongs to same material group, right? So that's how you use. You can see here, in case where the contract specifies a target value for all the materials in a certain group, use material group W. This can be used for value contracts only. In the contract, enter the short description, okay, and material group. Do not enter quantities or prices or specific material numbers. You need not have to enter. Why? Because you cannot foresee the problem that you may encounter in your hardware. So therefore, you need not have to enter the quantities, the prices, or the materials, right? Okay, so let me go and create it first. It's here. PHP5. So once again, I'll go with ME31K, that is creation of a contract. So let me choose the vendor. Purchasing organization 77C. Okay, so I'll go with Sudhakar as the vendor. Here, agreement type, which is nothing but the document type, which is of WK. Why? It is a value contract that I'm going to create. So therefore, WK needs to be chosen. And the purchasing organization responsible for creation of a contract, choose the purchasing organization and the purchasing group as NIS. Hit enter. Okay, so whether it is a quantity contract or a value contract, after all it's an outline agreement, therefore you have to have the definite starting and ending period. And now you see here, this is targeted value, so therefore you have to specify targeted value. Here I'm specifying it as 100,000 INR. That's my targeted value. Right? So while creating contract, what am I specifying? Do not enter any material master numbers. You give short text as hardware maintenance. Something like that I can maintain here. Target quantity, I need not have to specify because this is not a quantity based contract. Similarly, net price, I need not have to specify. Why? This is not based on the material and the quantity. So therefore, I need not have to specify the price, but I have to specify material group. Okay, so what type of services or materials that I'm going to procure? Let me go with electronics. And of course, plant. My plant is 77C. Along with it, you have to choose item category as W, that is material group. So that means what? The contract that I'm going to create is a material group, is a contract which is a value based contract, and this is meant for all the materials having similar material group, same material group. You see here, targeted quantity, order unit, net price, right? All these things got display mode only. And then you go and look at this in case if I have any release procedure triggered. There is no release procedure triggered. Okay, so therefore you can just simply go and save it. Okay, so I have now created a contract. You can see here, this is my contract. Now, what should I do? Whenever there is a need arises for a laptop itself, or for a RAM, or for a CPU, or for a hard disk, whatever the problem could be, you can refer this contract and raise a purchase order. Okay, so let me just go into the MARC table and see if I have created any materials belongs to material group electronics. My plant is 77C. I could see no electronic components, so let me just go and maintain a couple of materials. MM01, let's say RAM, or I would say something called 2 GB RAM. Okay, industry sector, mechanical engineering or manufacturing, material type, maintenance, repairs and operations. I can just go ahead and create it like that. General plan data 1 to accounting view. Okay, so I would say 2 GB RAM for desktop computer. So let it be unit of measure inch. Here, one thing you should remember, the material group that's been used in contract should be used for all the materials which should cover under that contract. Okay, that's the key point here. So you use purchasing group as NIS, purchasing value key, GR processing time, whatever data that is supposed to be required, you maintain it here. Enter the valuation class 2. Okay, 2 GB RAM. Let me go with say 2,500 rupees. Hit enter. So now 2 GB RAM is created. Then okay, so let me refer this 2 GB RAM. I wanted to create 2.65. Can it accept 2.65? I doubt. Processor or simply CPU. Okay. Oh, it's already there. Okay. I would say DT CPU, something like this. Okay, so this is DT CPU. The external number assignment possible for material type semi-finished. Alright, I don't want that semi-finished. So let me pick up the same thing. Hi Radhika.
Hello sir, good morning.
Very good morning. Okay, we have just started. We were creating a couple of materials for the value-based contract.
Okay.
So CPU for desktop computer, something like this. Purchasing group. Let's use the same group. Alright, so here CPU, I'm assuming it as 5,000 rupees. Enter. Save. Okay, so I've got DT CPU, RAM, and let's say hard disk. Okay, I would simply put it as HDD, hard disk. It's already there. I would go with DT HDD. One moment. MM01 HDD manufacturing. I would like to go with manufacturing, and then maintenance and repairs and operations material type. It's already there. Then let me go with hard disk. manufacturing, maintenance, repairs and operations. I would say DT hard disk, something like this. DT hard disk. Okay, so copy from here. Right, accounting. Okay. Something like hard disk for desktop computer. Purchasing group. Okay, so you give some valuation class here, and the moving average price something like 6,000 INR. Okay, so now let me just go and have a look at my, I doubt whether the RAM that's that's been created is in this Chennai plant, so therefore I'll just go and extend it, because it looks like it's been created in the Pune plant, so therefore I'm extending it. For this, okay, so it seems it's there, so therefore /n SE16 MARC table 77C plant. Let me see if I have these three materials: 2 GB RAM, DT CPU, DT hard disk. Okay, I've got these materials. Now look at here, this is my contract which is just created, 4/6 so and so. Now let's say, depending upon the requirement or as and when the need arises within the plant, right, so you will be creating a purchase requisition, or you can directly go and create a purchase order. So I'm going to create a purchase order. Assume it I've got some material requirements, so therefore I have to raise an order with reference to the contract. So once again I'm going with contract reference. Okay, so vendor is this Sudhakar? Not sure, let me check it.
Sir, can we first try creating requisition and then purchase order?
Oh yeah, certainly. You want me to do that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, ME51N. Okay, standard requisition. So you can just go with DT CPU. Okay, so DT hard disk, and then I guess we created 2 GB RAM. So these are the three materials that I've created. I want quantity of, say, how much, say, or maybe let's say 20 here, 20 here. Plant is 77C, 77C, and 77C. Okay, so not possible to assign source of supply. Why is it not possible to assign source of supply? You just go here. Now you see here, you can just look into this. Okay, find it out. You see here you have got a purchasing contract 4686. I assume this is a contract. You see here, this is a contract. Okay, so you just go and pick it up. Document number and item together. Okay, so I have got one item, so I can specify it here. Is not released. I thought it's not been went for approval. Oh, okay, so it's gone for approval. C3, C4, C5. Let me first release the contract. ME35L C3 I'm sorry, I went with MA35L, that is for the scheduling agreement. I should have actually gone with MA35K. Okay, MA35K C3. Now you could see this contract created for Sudhakar. It's been currently blocked. Okay, so I'm approving it. Go with the second approval to refer this. Okay, approve it. Once again, take the other approval and approve it. Once it is done, now the system will allow me, if you just go back and have a look at your contract, you could see it is completely approved, released. So therefore, now you can refer this contract while creating purchase requisition. Okay, so simply go ahead and pick the same contract as the source of supply, or let me just refresh the screen. ME51N. Okay, say once again, enter the material: 2 GB RAM, DT CPU, DT hard disk. This is how I've created my materials. Okay, DT hard disk, quantity of say 20, plant 77C, 77C, and also 77C. Okay, so now if you go into source of supply, you see here it's being picked up automatically. You know why? The reason is, I think we have already covered the source determination. Okay, so now you have got the Sudhakar as the source of supply. It's been picked up in the agreement, picked up as the source of supply for the requisition. Now you see, I'm going to save this.
If there are two agreements, what's going to happen for this?
If there are two agreements, it won't pick up anything, Sudhakar. So what you have to do is, you don't see anything over here, but here you will have some message like multiple sources possible. You have to go into that. Then you have to select one. You have to select one and then go with assign source of supply. Okay, only then system picks it, the assigned source of supply. We have one more concept which I will take it towards the end of purchasing. That is what we call it as sourcing administration, where I'm going to explain you for a certain material, if you have only source list, how the system picks up the supplier. If you have info record and source list, how the system picks up the supplier. If you have contract, that is outline agreement also, how the system picks it. Or if you have quota arrangement, how it picks up. That's part of sourcing administration, which we will see it after the in the next couple of days. Okay, maybe after outline agreements. See, there is a way, there is a mechanism by which system picks up source of supply. It first looks at quota arrangement for a certain material. If there is any quota arrangement available based on the quota rating given for a certain vendor, system picks up the vendor. So the first the highest precedence will be given to the quota arrangement. If there is no quota arrangement maintained for a certain material, then it looks for the next priority or the precedence document, which is outline agreement. In this case, for these materials, I did not create any I did not created any what you call the quota arrangement. Okay, so therefore quota arrangement is out of scope for this. So the next one is contracts or scheduling agreements. Here I would have created a contract with a material group which is being used in all these three materials. So therefore, and also while creating purchase requisition, I'm not sure if you have observed it or not, there is something called sourcing determination, which is a key here. This is automatically got checked because of the previous setting, because of the settings that I've done it for my previous batch and also for the same user. So therefore, that's the reason if you don't check this indicator, then system will not determine the source. Okay, so this is also one parameter which looks or which will be used in determining the source of supplier. If there is no quota arrangement, if there is no outline agreement, that is contract or the scheduling agreement that we are going to discuss, if these two are not available, then it looks for the source list. If source list is also not available, then it looks for the info record. That's how the system looks for the source of supplier. So therefore, to answer your question, multiple answers are possible. Answer number one, if multiple sources of suppliers are available for certain material, system will not default anything on its own, but it does specify multiple sources of suppliers possible. Then you have to go into the desired supplier field, or rather you have to click on that multiple sources of suppliers information. Then system allows you or it displays the list of suppliers available based on contract, based on quota arrangement, based on info record. You have to double click it or you have to select that one and then go with assign source of supply. Okay, you have to go with assign source of supply. Then that supplier will be defaulted as fixed supplier or desired supplier. That's how it goes. Is that clear, Sridhar? Right. Okay, so now I have got a purchase requisition created. Okay, now let me convert this requisition into purchase order. So okay, so let me just go and create a purchase order with reference to PO. While creating PO, I'll be using my own document, and I also wanted to refer my requisition. I'll go with my requisitions, look for my requisitions. If I go with this, have a look at this. What is your requisition? 15304. Okay, just go and refer this. Okay, now you see here it's asking net price must be greater than 0. So while you see here there is outline agreement which is being referred. So therefore you have to state, you have to specify the prices for each of the material. For this you would have already created, okay, you would have already created an info record for this. For example, let me enter the prices manually for time being. 2500, CPU 5000, hard disk, how much did I get? Is it 6000 or 7000? Or maybe 7000, something like this. You go and check it. As long as, okay, so as long as your material group used for this material is matching with the material group that is being used in the contract, then you can use any number of materials under this particular contract. Okay, so the one more thing which you should remember is you may not have given any material number in the contract. Here the material number field is blank, but here you have to replace that particular thing with a material number. Okay, so now if you can go into, did I create a purchase requisition? Sorry, purchase order. Okay, so now here you see, I'll just go and now maintain this one, LP01, which is local printed. Okay, I'll just go check and then save it. Okay, so like this you can just go and maintain a PO also. Now if you, in case if you want to just go and have a look at your contract, you can still go check it for the statistics. Okay, that like release documentation, select your item, go with statistics, release documentation, where you could see there are 3 items created with reference to this PO. So if you want to go with this, here is the way that you should be going in. Okay, like this. So far no material has been delivered, otherwise you would have seen the delivery information also here. Here purposefully I have created the purchase order whose value is more than the contract value. Okay, but it will give you a warning message, which I have ignored the warning message. If you want to block, if the order value is more than the contract value, you can suppress, or rather you can make that message as error message, so therefore it will not allow you to do so. Okay, so this is how you can work with it for the value contracts, right? So this is all about contracts. So we have discussed about quantity contract, we have discussed about value contract, we have discussed about central contracts, and we have discussed about plant specific contracts. So these are the types of contracts that we use. Once we create a contract, like I told you, you have to create a purchase order with reference to contract. When you are creating a PO like that, that PO is called release order. Okay, as you can see, a release order is a type of purchase order created with reference to contract. When creating release order, you copy the data from the contract, such as pricing conditions, vendor information, payment terms. All these things gets defaulted from your contract, and that's the reason you are referring contract. Okay, the price on the release order is calculated on the basis of contract conditions. In case scales also, if it is available, the price will be taken from scales. And if you want to see the release documentation or the release order documentation on the contract, this is how you can go. Select the item, go with statistics and release documentation, right? And also I told you this one as well. You can use unknown account assignment category in the contract, but same thing needs to be replaced in the purchase order. At the time of creation of a contract, you might not be knowing which cost center is going to take how much material, or to which account you need to post that, but at the time of ordering, you should be knowing it. You have to change the unknown account assignment with a valid account assignment category, whether it is K or P or A, that needs to be changed, right? And we also have discussed about central agreed contracts. Okay, so wherein you need not have to specify the plant in the main against the main material that is in the item overview, but rather you have to go into plant conditions and specify the things. Right? The next one is scheduling agreements. Any questions on the contracts? Well, if you have no questions.
No, sir. No questions.
Then.
Sudhakar.
Yeah. Yes, Sudhakar.
Okay. Yeah, this is regarding the contracts expiring. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does that be notified when a contract is expired? Expired is based on you have a start date and end date. Right?
Okay.
Now the end date can be based on a value, it could be based on quantity, it could be based on something else. So how it will be notified? I have not seen anything that in the value-based contract. I have not seen there is an end date of that particular contract.
No, there is an end date.
I missed something.
There is an end date.
Okay,
Let me show you.
fine.
You see here, any contract, whether it is a contract or a scheduling agreement, end date is mandatory. You see here, I have already maintained the end date.
Right.
So without end date, you cannot call it as an outline agreement, because the definition of outline agreement is itself states it's a long-term arrangement made with the vendor to procure either materials or services within a predefined period of time. When I say predefined period, a definite start and definite end date. So therefore, without validity ending date, you cannot create a document. System will not allow you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, whichever comes first, the value or the contract end date.
Yeah.
That's how it is done. Yeah?
Correct. Correct. So can you please give me a moment? Yesterday నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నానండి, మీకు క్లాస్ అయిన తర్వాత కాల్ చేస్తాను. Sure. Yes, Sudhakar, your understanding is absolutely correct. Whichever comes first. If the quantity is already, over the contract target quantity, if it is already, released, then system is going to throw you a message, system message, okay, saying that the target quantity already exceeded or target quantity reached, something like that. You will see a system message. So provided if that message is made as an error message, system will not allow you to, release orders for more than target quantity of the contract. Same is the case with value also. By default, this message is warning message. So in case if you want to strictly go with, the targeted quantities and values, convert that message, warning message, system defaulted warning message, into an error message. Is that fine, Sudhakar? I'm sorry. Any more questions on the contracts? Sudhakar, is your question answered? Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello, yes sir.
అది ఎవరు మాట్లాడలేదండి. సుధాకర్ క్వశ్చన్ అడిగారు, I answered it. I'm not sure whether he is satisfied with the answer or not. So I'm just asking Sudhakar, is his question answered?
Yesterday I was not attended. Just
Yeah.
so somehow I'm getting some confused. So I kept quiet.
Okay, not a problem, sir. మీరు ఒకసారి అది చూడండి, రికార్డెడ్ సెషన్. ప్లీజ్ గో త్రూ ఇట్. ఇన్ కేస్ ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ క్వశ్చన్, దెన్ వి విల్ అడ్రస్ దట్ క్వశ్చన్.
అది రికార్డ్ చేసి మీరు ఇచ్చారు కదా ఫోల్డర్,
అవునండి.
అది ఓపెన్ అవ్వట్లేదు సార్. కొంచెం
అది మీ దగ్గర జిప్ లేదేమో సార్. మీ దగ్గర వాట్ కాల్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఉంటుంది, RAR అని. అది డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోవాలి. RAR అని ఉంటుంది అనమాట. అది జిప్ ఫైల్స్ ని ఓపెన్ చేయడానికి మీరు .rar అని చెప్పేసి download.rar అని చెప్పేసి గూగుల్లో కొట్టి దాన్ని డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. సో దట్ ఏంటంటే మీరు ఫైల్ డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకున్నప్పుడు ఇట్ విల్ ఐడెంటిఫై ది కరెక్ట్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ టు ఓపెన్ ది ఫోల్డర్ ఫైల్. సో మీ దగ్గర ఫైల్ లేకపోతే ఓపెన్ అవ్వదు. ఈ ఇప్పుడు మనం రికార్డ్ చేసిన దాన్ని యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గా దాంట్లో ప్లేస్ చేయడానికి ప్రాబ్లం ఏంటంటే ఇట్స్ కమింగ్ మోర్ దాన్ 200 MB. సో వెన్ ద ఫైల్ సైజ్ ఇస్ మోర్ దాన్ 200 MB, ది మీడియా ఫైల్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది నన్ను అలౌ చేయలేదు అనమాట. యువర్ ఫైల్ ఈస్ మోర్ దాన్ 200 MB, యూ కెనాట్ స్టోర్ ఇట్ అని చెప్పేసి మెసేజ్ వస్తుంది. అందుచేత వాట్ ఐఎమ్ డూయింగ్ ఈజ్ ఐఎమ్ జిప్పింగ్ ఇట్, అంటే కంప్రెస్ చేసి .rar ఫైల్ లో సేవ్ చేసి ఆ ఫైల్ ని మీకు అప్లోడ్ చేస్తున్నా. సో what you have to do is you have to download the .rar file, and provided if your system మీ కంప్యూటర్ కనుక ఆర్ఏఆర్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఉంటే దాన్ని అన్జిప్ చేసుకుని మీకు ఓపెన్ చేస్తుందండి. అది మీ దగ్గర లేదు, మీరు దాన్ని ఒకసారి డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి.
సరే సరే. ఇంకోటి ఏంటి, మొన్న మా ఫోల్డర్ ఓపెన్ చేసి గబక్కన డిలీట్ అయిపోయింది.
మళ్ళీ డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి, ఏముంది.
మీరు పంపిన ఫోల్డర్
నేనేం పంపించానండి మీకు?
ఫోల్డర్ పంపించారు కదా.
మీకేం పంపించలేదు, నేను మొత్తం అంతా లింక్ లో పెడుతున్నాను. యూ జస్ట్ హావ్ టు గో దేర్, యాక్సెస్ ద ఫోల్డర్.
ఓపెన్ చేస్తే మరి ఎప్పుడు గబక్కన రాంగ్ ఫింగర్ అయిందంటే మొత్తం డిలీట్ అయిపోయింది.
ఏం కాదండి, డిలీట్ అవ్వదు. మీరు చూడండి, మీరు అదే ఫైల్ యాక్సెస్ చేయండి. డూ యూ గైస్, పవిత్ర, రాధిక అండ్ లక్ష్మి, ఆర్ యూ యాక్సెసింగ్ the folder and is it allowing you to download all the files?
Yes sir.
సో సుందరరావు గారు, మీ ఒక్కరికైతే ప్రాబ్లం రాదు. ఒకవేళ ఫోల్డర్ పోయింది, ఫైల్ పోయింది అంటే అందరికీ పోతుంది, మీ ఒక్కరికే పోదండి. మోర్ ఓవర్ మీకు ఇచ్చింది, మీకు డౌన్లోడ్ ఆప్షన్ ఇచ్చాను, అంతేగాని మీకు బహుశా అందులో నుంచి డెలీట్ చేసే ఆప్షన్ లేకపోయి ఉండొచ్చు. చెక్ చేయండి ఒకసారి, మీరు యాక్సెస్ చేస్తారు. షూర్, రైట్. Okay, so then let's move on to the scheduling agreement. Okay, so there are two types of scheduling agreements, like what we have seen it in the contract. Here also we have got two types of scheduling agreements. One we call it as scheduling agreement. Scheduling agreement without, okay, there is something called release documentation, which is identified by document type LP, created, okay, created with T code, transaction code ME31L, right? The second one is, it's the same thing, scheduling agreement, but this is with release documentation. Okay, so this is with release documentation. Document type is LPA, created with the same transaction code. Okay, so let's try to understand what is scheduling agreement first, and then we will discuss about what is release documentation. All right, so you have seen in the contracts where the contract is created for a target quantity or for a target value. I have never specified anywhere about which material needs to be delivered for how much quantity and on what day. That is what we call it as delivery schedules. Therefore, the contract does not contain delivery schedule information, whether it is quantity contract or a value contract. Whereas scheduling agreement is like a quantity contract which also contains delivery schedules. Means your scheduling agreement is like a quantity contract. What does it mean? It will have a fixed start date, fixed end date. It is also created for a fixed amount of material, that is fixed quantity of material, and I'm going to specify how much material I require on which date. This is called delivery schedule. So therefore, your scheduling agreement contains delivery information or delivery schedule information. You look at here, with vendor, I'm going to create the scheduling agreement which also contains delivery schedules. So a vendor scheduling agreement is similar to a quantity contract in that it specifies the target quantity to order over a period of time as well as the designated price. This is just a quantity based contract. For each scheduling agreement, there is an underlying delivery schedule. It means, for example, in my scheduling agreement, if I create an agreement for 10 items, for each of the item, how much material, that is how much quantity to be delivered at what point of time, the delivery date, that needs to be specified for each of the material or for each of the item, right? Advantages of using scheduling agreement. Number one, you need not have to raise the PO. Okay. Number two, because you are already specifying how much quantities of the material that you require for each of the scheduling agreement item, you need not have to maintain the inventories in your storage location, in the sense with lower inventories, you can specify every week I want 100 tons. That's it. Every week the vendor will deliver the material, 100 tons of material at your premises. You need not have to maintain 1,000 tons at a stretch in your storage location. That way you can save your inventory cost. Similarly, because you don't need to raise a purchase order, it streamlines the paperwork. Even the delivery schedules will be automatically created, which we will see it at later in the sourcing administration and even in MRP as well. So therefore, it streamlines the paperwork, promotes the lower inventories, and allows for just-in-time deliveries. With scheduling agreement, you can specify up to minute level. Every Monday morning, 10 a.m. 10 o'clock 20 minutes, I want the material to be delivered at my plant. You can specify. That is, up to minute level, you can specify the time for each of the delivery schedules. And because you are giving the information on the delivery schedules, that is how much material or which material for how much quantity on which date, the delivery information you are giving in advance to the vendor at the time of at the time of agreement creation itself. Therefore, he can plan the deliveries accordingly, which reduces the lead time, what we call it as replenishment lead time. So it shortens the vendor's lead times because the vendor can plan the delivery in advance according to the schedules that you maintain in the agreement. Right? The vendor scheduling agreement and the delivery schedules can be issued via various output media like the printout, EDI, fax, email, etc., etc. Okay, so that is anyhow is possible. That we will see. The next topic is that one only, so we will see that one, how to set it up, the output medium, right? The scheduling agreement can reference contracts to gain access to the conditions. In the sense, if you have any contract which is created earlier, you can refer the contract and create a scheduling agreement. Therefore, the negotiations, the conditions that you have negotiated while creating contract can be referred in the scheduling agreement. Why? Because you are not creating a purchase order further. With scheduling agreement itself, you can receive the material. So therefore, if you have any central contract created where the buyers would have negotiated the best possible conditions with reference to central contract, and if you are referring that contract and creating agreement, scheduling agreement, the scheduling agreement, okay, accesses those conditions. Okay, so that's how you can do that one. Now, like I said, these are the types of scheduling agreements. One is scheduling agreement without release documentation. Second one is scheduling agreement with release documentation. With release documentation is represented by LPA. Without release documentation is represented by LP. Let's try to understand what is this release documentation on the scheduling agreement. Okay, release documentation is something like this. After creating an agreement, that is scheduling agreement, if you want to record the delivery schedules before they are transmitted to the supplier, then that is called as release documentation. Without release documentation means you don't record the delivery schedules before they are transmitted to the supplier. You getting my point? So recording and then transmitting the delivery schedules to the supplier is called release documentation. Without recording, if you are transmitting the delivery schedules to the supplier, then that is called without release documentation. So in a way, I can say this way. In case of scheduling agreements without release documentation, the delivery schedules are transmitted automatically to the supplier. Whereas with release documentation, the delivery schedules will not be transmitted automatically. Rather, you need to record them first and then release. That is, transmit the delivery schedules to the supplier. This is the difference. Okay, so that's what is maybe quoted here. Without release documentation, the schedules are automatically transmitted to the vendor as soon as they are created. With release documentation, schedules are not automatically transmitted. Rather, you have to record them first, right, in the step called release, and then transmit the delivery schedules to the supplier. Okay. Now, here, scheduling agreement with release documentation, you have got two types of things here. Okay. There are two types of schedules. To be of one, let me put it this way, what we call it as forecast based schedules. Okay. Then I have one more thing that is called just in time delivery schedules. Okay. So here I call this as just in time. Okay, JIT or just in time schedules. Are you getting my point? So what is meant by forecast based schedules? What is meant by just in time schedules? As the name indicates, just in time means it covers the needs, the material needs from few minutes to few days. Okay, what is that I require in the next 1 hour? What is that I require in the next 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days? Means just in time deliveries covers the future requirements for few hours to few days, whereas forecast based schedules, which covers the needs of material requirements, the future material requirements from few days to few months, that is called forecast based schedules. So therefore, while maintaining delivery schedules, you have to specify what type of delivery schedules are you going to create. Is it just in time delivery schedule or a forecast based delivery schedule? You have to specify these two, right? So this is what it states. The schedule line agreement release can be done for the forecast based delivery schedule, which is used to communicate to the vendors about the medium term overview of requirements. What do you mean by medium term overview requirements? Medium term overview requirements is nothing but few days to few months, whereas just in time delivery schedules, which are nothing but they are used to communicate to the vendors for the near future requirements, which you can break down into daily, hourly, to the next few days or few weeks also. That is what is meant by just in time deliveries. Therefore, that's the reason when you are using just in time deliveries, you need not have to maintain the heavy inventories, which will save you a lot of cost to the company. Okay. Then scheduling agreement with or without release documentation, they are all controlled using release documentation indicator for the document type. This is a configuration which I will explain you right now itself, because that's the only configuration that we have it for the outline agreements. Let me just take you to SPRO and explain you the configuration steps, additional configuration steps that were there apart from the ones we have already seen in the purchasing. Right, so let me go to material management. Under purchasing, if you look into outline agreement, that's both contracts and scheduling agreement. Contract is absolutely similar to PO. You need not have to look into that. If you look at here, you see number range, document type, release procedure, screen layout, text for contracts, criteria for archiving, setup, authorization check, everything is there. Everything has been covered in the PO. So therefore, I'm not going into the contract. Okay, you see here in purchase order, we have covered too many things. So therefore, all these things which are there in the contract, it's already been covered in the PO. Number range, doc type, okay, release procedure, screen layout, text for purchasing orders, there it is, text for contract, tolerance limits for archiving, and then setup authorization check for GL accounts. So these are the ones which were already there covered. So look at the scheduling agreement. Here also, number range, doc type, release procedure, screen layout, text, criteria for archiving, setup stock transport scheduling agreement. This we will see as part of special procurement. Authorization check for jail account. All these things are common. Only thing, the additional thing is one what we call it as release creation profile. The other one is under document type settings. I told you there are two types of documents. One without release documentation. Second one is with release documentation. LP and LPA. Let me take you to that. Okay, forget about these two. Okay, these are the two standard ones. LP, if you look at LP or LPA, both, you see here, everything is same except this particular indicator called release documentation. Okay, in case of LPA, this is checked, whereas in case of LP, this is not checked. Other than this, there is no difference at all. Okay, so this is one configuration. Rest of the things are same. LP, with LP document, what are the item categories allowed? Okay, with LPA or LP document, the combinations, document type, that is scheduling agreement requisition of item category to be converted into scheduling agreement, actual agreement of item category. This combination which we have already worked in PR and PO, so therefore I'm not going to see it once again. Now the last one, maintain release creation profile for scheduling agreement with release documentation. So here this is the one which you have to create it. You have to create the release creation profile. Okay, so what am I going to do is I'm going to create one for your Chennai plant. Okay, so there is no release creation profile maintained here. So therefore what I'll do is I'll just go and pick it up one, go and copy as. Okay, so this time my plant is 777C and creation profile I'll just simply use 777. Hit enter. Okay, this is for I would say automobiles. Okay, I'll simply use it here at automobiles. I'll save it first. Okay, and then if you want to go inside and see what exactly is there, you could see here under general parameters. Okay, as I told you, with release creation, you will go into release creation profile when only for the scheduling agreement with release documentation, that is LPA, document type LPA. In LPA, I told you two types of delivery schedules are possible, forecast based and just in time. Okay, so you see here, these are basically meant for planning. Okay, which we discuss little more about these parameters in MRP. Change or next date, changed only, next date only, depending upon that you can choose it. In case if you want to aggregate it also, you can just go and aggregate it. Okay, in case if you are aggregating, you have to specify aggregated origins. Okay, so here creation periodicity, in the sense at what frequency do you want these delivery schedules to be created with reference to this periodicity, right? And then tolerance profiles. So let me use the standard one. So I'm not changing anything. I simply use this one. This is more for a PP module. Okay, so I have now created one release creation profile. So except these two, there are no configuration steps. And now how to process scheduling agreement? Let's have a look at this. Okay, and then there is one more thing, the time zones. Let me explain you the time zones as well. There is something called time zones which we use it in the PP module. So let me put it over here. Let's say for a certain material, the delivery date. Okay, let's see. Something like this. Okay, let's say delivery date of a particular delivery schedule, isn't it? Assume it, this is, I would say, what is the date today? 21st or 20th? 21st. Let's say 25th 06/2012. This is my delivery date for a particular delivery schedule. Okay, assume it, in case if the vendor is not able to deliver the material by 25th of June, okay, in order to avoid any penalties. Are you getting my point? In order to avoid any penalties, how many days before the delivery date he should inform to me? In either case, okay, so this is depending upon how the buyer and the vendor have negotiated. If this is my delivery date, before how many days he should inform me in order to avoid any penalties. Okay, assume it, let's say, let me put this date as 25 minus 7, how many days? 18. 06/2012. Let's say this is 11/06/2012. Okay, all right. Now you see, if the vendor informs me that he will not be able to supply the material in this zone, let's say if the vendor informs me between 18th to 25th of June, if he informs me that he will not be able to supply me the material, then he has to bear certain penalties. Okay, those penalty costs associated with this zone, or let me put it here, he has to bear something called material cost plus production cost, right? So he has to bear both material cost and production cost. Both needs to be borne by the vendor. In case if the delivery misses here in this particular zone, we will discuss what is this zone right now. Okay, so what cost he should borne here, right? So based on this, I'm going to say this is what we call it as firm zone. It means by 18th of June, if the vendor is not informing me, all my orders are firmed. Therefore, I cannot, go ahead. I might be incurring loss of production. Therefore, the vendor has to bear, if the delivery schedule is missed in this zone, he has to bear material cost as well as production cost. If the vendor informs me in this zone, okay, that is 2 weeks earlier, between 11/6 to 18/6, he has to bear, okay, only material cost. I think it's only material cost, right? Any information which is beyond this particular area, okay, any information informed beyond this particular date 11, okay, this is called free zone. Okay, this is called, let me put it as free zone. Okay, I would say this is called trade-off zone. Right? So let me explain you once again. So here the delivery date is 25th of June. If you set the time zones against your schedule line item, right? That means what? Any delivery missing between 18th to 25th, if vendor or if you are informing to the vendor saying that I cannot take the delivery, either party have to bear material cost plus production cost as penalty. There will be associated penalties, so based on whoever is missing, he has to bear that cost. If a party is missing a delivery, let's say instead of before 1 week, if the vendor informs to the buyer that he may not be able to supply the material for whatever reasons, therefore he has got some cushion period, right? The buyer or the manufacturing plant can plan an alternative. So therefore here only the material cost needs to be borne by the defaulter, right? So this zone is, and hence this zone is called trade-off zone. Some trade-off can be done. Similarly, if the vendor or whoever is going to say that he cannot supply the material or I cannot receive the material, if he informs beyond this date, there will not be any penalties associated with the orders cancelled in the trade-off zone. Okay, so if I have to recap everything and put it in this way, orders cancelled in the free zone need not have to bear any penalties, or there is no binding cost associated on either party for the orders cancelled in the free zone. If the particular order is cancelled in the trade-off zone, the defaulter has to bear material cost. If an order has been cancelled when it is in the firm zone, then the defaulter has to bear material cost and production cost. Okay, therefore this is called time zones. Okay, so these are called time zones, which we use it for the various orders. Okay, so if you want, normally this we use it for the productions. Okay, not regularly used for the inventory kind of thing, but for generally use it for the production purposes. Okay, so this is what we call it as firm zone, trade-off zone, and the planning zone. Okay, the free zone is also called as planning zone. Okay, now let me just go and maintain the process. Okay, so I'll go and create a scheduling agreement. Have a look at it. ME31L, creation of a contract. Creation of a scheduling agreement for a certain vendor. Let's say Sundar Rao is my vendor this time, right? Agreement type. You have to choose an agreement type. Now let me going with LP, that is scheduling agreement without release documentation, right? You have an agreement start date, you have a purchase organization, you do have a purchasing group, then I go and hit enter. Now you see here is the end date, so I go and pick up end date. Now let me do the material. Which material am I have to procure? Look at here. For example, I wanted to go with rear wheel for a small car. This is my material, right? What is the target quantity? Let's say 1000. I told you in the beginning itself, scheduling agreement is like a quantity contract. So therefore you have to give the target quantity, isn't it? Okay. Now you see here, go into say messages, the document type, the scheduling agreement itself will be transmitted to the supplier using NEU. Okay, and earlier in the earlier days, before SAP version 4. I would say, not 4 point. Before version ECC 6.0 or ECC 5.0. I mean to say before enterprise version. We used to maintain the delivery schedules while creating the agreement itself. How? You select this line and then you will have something called delivery schedules. By going into item, when you click on delivery schedule, it used to open a new table where you can maintain the delivery schedules. But from enterprise version onwards, SAP disabled that option. Instead, they have given a separate transaction code for that. Okay. Now, this is, why is it cartons? Is the order price order unit as carton? Okay. So,
yes sir, one carton consists of 10 numbers.
I see.
One carton consists of 10 numbers.
Okay. So, now I am creating an agreement. You see here, I'll just go and save it. My agreement will be created. Okay. Let me put it here. Process steps for scheduling agreement. Right. Step number 1, I would say create scheduling agreement. Number 2, what needs to be done? Create, okay, or you can say maintain delivery schedules. You have to maintain delivery schedules. Now, this is your agreement. Okay, now you see I'm going to maintain a delivery schedule. How? There's a separate transaction code called ME38. You can go into purchasing, outline agreement, scheduling agreement. Now you see here there is something called delivery schedule, maintain delivery schedule, ME38. For which document? What's our scheduling agreement? 5500014. This is your document. Now you go and hit enter. You see here it's the same document which is created earlier. Now you are maintaining it, the delivery schedules for each of the line item. How do I do it? Select this line and then go with maintain. You see here there is something called delivery schedule. You click it here. Now here you can specify what is the delivery date, which delivery date, how much quantity you require. Let's say 28th. I will just go and put it as something like every 15 days. After 28, let me put it as 9, and then I would say, okay, just for the example's sake, I'll just make it as 19 and then make it as something 29. Okay, Control Y, I would just say Control C, put it here 08 08 08, and once again let me put it here something similar to this. Control Y, one moment, Control C, Control V. So here it should be 09 09 09. Okay, say 10 10 10. Okay, something like this. Okay, depending upon how you require, what you require, how much you require, you just put it as something similar to this. Okay, so these are the quantities that I'm going to order. Okay, okay, this is again depending upon your requirement. So together it is 880. I think what I've ordered is 990. This is the cumulative quantity. So I'll just say 980. So here I will add another 20. So therefore it becomes 1000. Now you see here, this is my total material requirement. I have created quantity of 1000. So I'm getting these 1000 pieces on this date, this much, on this date, this much, on this date, this much, so on and so forth. Okay, so now if you look into header messages, you will have something called LPET. This is the output type for the delivery schedule itself. The one that you have seen in the scheduling agreement is NEU, whereas this one is LPET. Okay, I would just go with send immediately. Right, now having maintained this one, you go and save it. Okay, you could see here scheduling agreement change. If you just go back to your delivery schedule, that is ME33L, you see here ME33L display scheduling agreement. Now if you go and look at here, you could see exactly what has been maintained. Now if you look into header messages, it is yet to be transmitted. Okay, how do I transmit it? Okay, tell me, how do I transmit it? Third step is transmit the SCA and delivery schedules to vendor. That's all you have to do. So how do I look at here? There is something called a transaction called ME9O, ME9E, ME9L. ME9 is basically for transmitting the document to the supplier or to wherever. So therefore, now let me take you to this one. If you want to transmit a purchase order to the supplier, you see here ME9F. F is the basically ME9 is common in the transaction. That last indicator, if it is F, it means it is a purchase order. To transmit purchase order, we use ME9F. If it is a, of course, requisition, you do not have to send. If it is a quotation, okay, or I would say contract, okay, ME9A, because A is the document category for the RFQ or quotation. Similarly, if you look at your outline agreement, ME9K is for the contract, okay, and for scheduling agreement ME9L. Okay, you see here messages, ME9L is for sending contract, sending scheduling agreements. I'll just go with ME9L. This is our agreement. Okay, now EV, look at here, EV is application called scheduling agreement, right? So now I'll just go and look at this. No suitable documents found. It means it is yet to be released. Maybe it would have gone for release procedure. Yeah, it has gone for release procedure. So let me just go and release the document. What is the transaction to release? Scheduling agreement ME35L. Okay, so let's go and release the document C3, then C4, and then C5. Ensure that the document is released. For that, I'll just go back, display it once again, and check if it is completely released or not. Document release ID status. Why is it still blocked? I thought I have released it completely. ME33L. Yeah, so it's not getting updated as quickly as we were doing. So it is released now. Now therefore, what you can do is Go with ME 9E. /N ME 9E. If you just go and look at here, message type, you can even specify message type as what is your document type, EV NEU. You can even go with this, or you can simply, without specifying it, okay, if you can go like this, it's going to pull you the things. You see here, this is your document 550000141. Is this not your document? This is your scheduling agreement. If I wanted to see what is there here, you see here, this is your scheduling agreement. This is the vendor with dear Sundar Rao, means this is vendor, agreement number, purchasing group, that is buyer information, right? So please deliver the material at so and so place. There are no delivery information here. You see here, this is just an agreement. This is just an agreement. It's like your quantity contract. I'll just output this one, right? And then look at here. Once again, I'll go back to ME 9E. Okay, now instead of, okay, so now same document, let's see, I'm not giving any message type here. Now you see here, it should pick up LPET. Has it already been, maybe it's already been outputted, because I would have given process what you call send immediately. Now you see it's already been documented. This is what you see as a delivery schedule. You see here, this also goes to the supplier along with your agreement. So therefore vendor knows exactly on the day when he receives the agreement, 26th of June he has to supply quantity, right? 9th of July he has to supply this quantity. So like this, he should be knowing it. So here, what did I perform? I simply executed creation of scheduling agreement, and then I maintained it, and then I've just printed or transmitted based on whatever, you know, the detail that is there, it gets transmitted. Can you just give me a moment? Hello? Yes? I expected you give me a call about a week ago. I think it's already been 4 or 5 days, isn't it? By the way, I'm in a meeting. Can you please give me a call after half an hour? Alright, thank you. I'm sorry. So these are the process steps for scheduling agreement. I would say without release documentation. Now let's go and see process steps for SA with release documentation. These steps are same, okay. Along with it, you have to have few more. What are they? Let me go and create a new scheduling agreement. I'll go with create. Okay, so this time let me pick up a different vendor. Let's say Venkat. Okay, I'll go with the same details, right? Hit enter. Let's say a different material, I wanted to go with piston rings, quantity of 1000, let's say this way. Is the price not there for this material? One moment. 103.
Anything else?
115. Okay. Now look at here. If I go into, even from here also, NU is the output type, but here what you have to do is select the material, that is item. You have something called additional data. Let me see where is additional data. I am going with additional data. Somewhere down, you see here, these are the time zones: firm zone, trade-off zone. Okay, you have to give it. Anything beyond trade-off zone is called what you call planning zone or free zone. So in case if you want to give dates, you can give dates, something like this. And then you see here, release creation profile, you have to have a field for that. Do you see any field called release creation profile? You should be seeing here. One moment. Yeah, item details. Do you see anywhere release creation profile? Come on. Why is it not appear? It should be there. It should be there. Release creation profile should be there. Okay, ఇక్కడ కూడా లేదు అంటే probably I must have used the wrong document type. Let me just go back once again. I'm not saving it. You see here, this is the reason I'm okay. This is what the problem is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose LPA, right? Vendor Venkat. Okay, hit enter. Give the same thing here. Material, not sure. Piston ring, right? What is the material number? Piston ring. Target quantity of 1000. Price of, say, let it be 110. Select the item. Go with additional data. Here only you should see it. You see here, creation profile. Okay, remember this will come only for the LPA document. It will not come for the LP document, right? So here, whatever you have created, 777 profile, you have to assign this. Now you save it. One more thing. Okay, go to details. You see here, I did not maintain any ZIT indicator. Okay, so I'll just go and save it. Let me save this document. This is my document. I'll just go and display. Okay, now let me just go and pick it here. Delivery schedule for the previous document. What am I doing is, instead of maintaining all these things, please excuse me for copying this information. Okay, same delivery dates I wanted to give it on the other document also. Okay, excuse me for my laziness. So I will be using the second document, which is with LPA, right? Once again, select this one. Go with you see here, there is a different icon which appears because this is LPA document. Now you go with this particular thing. So here you can specify the delivery dates, or rather the delivery schedules. once you are done, once you maintain this information, okay, you see here, whatever material or whichever delivery you wanted to record. For example, I wanted to record this delivery 28 June delivery schedule. I wanted to transmit to the supplier. So therefore what I should do, you see here, select the line of the delivery schedule. Now look at here, go to edit, generate forecast based schedule. You have to take this step. Now you see here, error generating release against scheduling agreement. Why? What was the error? Cause 5. I'm not sure what was the error. Let me just go and pick it up. It looks there is an error. Otherwise, I would have seen here 2 lines, not this way. So what I'm going to do is, let me not do save it. Let me just go back and redo it once again. Delivery schedule. I maintain the delivery. Oops, is it wrong? One second. ME33L or you display the delivery schedules. I'm sorry, 41, right? So I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy all these things, put it here, save it. Okay, so now the delivery schedule is already maintained. So once you are here, okay, whatever delivery schedule you wanted to transmit, you select the line, okay, and then you see edit, generate forecast based schedule. I'm getting an error here. I'm not supposed to get an error, but I'm getting here. Cause 5 has not yet been released. Okay, that document is not released, so that's the reason I'm getting the error. ME30, let me just go and display. C3, C4, C5, these are the people to approve it. So therefore let me approve it first. /n ME35L. So C3% to approve first. Let it get approved. I'm in change mode, so therefore it is stopping me. Maintain scheduling agreement. Come out of that. Okay. Now you go and release it. It gets released. Then once again go with C4. Release it. And finally with C5 also you release the document. Ensure that it's completely released. One step back. Go and have a look at it. Should have been completely released. Now when it is done, what you have to do is you will now go and maintain the delivery schedule. Okay, I keep forgetting the step, that is releasing the scheduling agreement, assuming it's not been went for approval. So now it is completely approved. Now I'm going with ME38, that is maintain delivery schedules. Now we have already maintained the delivery schedules. You see here, this is your first schedule which needs to be released now to the supplier to deliver the material. How? Edit, now generate forecast based schedule. Now you see here, forecast schedule release generated against a scheduling agreement. How do I go and see? Just come to this particular icon, SA release documentation. Now you see here, this is the one, number of releases done. So this is recorded. So what you can do is you keep the cursor over here, go to schedule line release, you have to select it, go like this. Okay, now you see these are the ones which are there. Okay, if you want to see messages per release, LPH1, remember this is for the forecast based schedule. You could see here, this is the one which got recorded. Okay, now you need not have to do anything. After that you simply save it and then come back. Right, next thing, after you have done this one, you know what, you have to actually go with release documentation. There's a separate transaction code for that. Let me show you that one. You see here, ME84, create scheduling agreement release. So I would say you do this one, and then the fourth one, create scheduling agreement release documentation. So here, when I go with create scheduling agreement release documentation, at this point of time, system looks for the release creation profile. If it is there or not, it will check. Okay, so let's go and have a look at that. So unless you perform this, the delivery schedules will not get transmitted to the supplier. This is the basic difference. Okay, is this the material? Is this the document? I assume so. So therefore, I would say forecast schedules I wanted to transmit. This is the material, this is the vendor, this is the scheduling agreement. Even if you don't remember anything also, you give only the material or the vendor or the scheduling agreement. Whatever you know, you simply put it over there. Okay, and then you see here, scope for selection, you can go with, without any restrictions. Hit enter. Remove the test run. Okay, now after this you go with execute. It means now the recording of this particular thing takes place. Okay, it's in some other, maybe with another session I was in the change mode, so therefore it's not happening. Item currently being processed by user. Let me come out of all these things. Yeah, so I'm here, that's the reason it's stopping me. I'll just come out of it. Even display also. Display is not a problem, but still. Let me come back once again and now redo it. Re-execute this transaction. Release. Now you see here, it's in green. Creation because no restrictions. Okay, because you have selected that one. Next, FRC means forecast scheduling is 2nd July. Okay, so now if you can go back to your scheduling agreement, go to this one, you see here, this is still not transmitted. So you can, with a separate step, you can transmit it. How do I? ME9E, you see here. This is the document. NEU is the one which you wanted to transmit. See here, go and display message. So what you see here is the agreement. You process this agreement output, right? What's the next step? You just go and go to this one, ME9E, right? What is that? This is delivery schedule. You see here, LPH1 is the forecast based schedule. So when you transmit this, you see here, these are the ones which will go as part of that. Okay, and then you simply have to go and output the message. So this is what we call it as scheduling agreement with forecast based scheduling. If you want to go with just-in-time scheduling, there is a small change required here. You see here, one second, you go with MM01, take the same material, piston ring or whatever material that you have it. What's your material? Piston ring or connecting rod? I guess this is the material. Oops, one second. Okay, I'll go with change material. When you go into purchasing, here you have something called JIT indicator, just-in-time indicator. Look for just-in-time indicator. You see here, JIT indicator. You have to make this active automatically, isn't it? So when you set this indicator, if you set this indicator, then the system allows you to process delivery schedules for the just-in-time deliveries. ME32L, I will go with change mode of the scheduling agreement that's been created. Now you see it's already liable to reset. That's okay, no problem. Go with item details. Here also you would have this indicator just in time, so you simply go and make it active, then you save it. Okay, you go with the display, ensure that there are no release or approvals required. Once you are done, in case if you want it, you can still do same document. You can go for just-in-time delivery schedules. How? You see here, /n ME38 maintain delivery schedules. I'll go with this. This is my item. I'll go with the delivery schedule. Okay, for example, I wanted to go with, say, this one, just-in-time delivery schedule for the second one. You see here, I keep the cursor here and then edit, generate just-in-time delivery schedule. Unless you have the indicator maintained in the scheduling agreement, this will not possible. Now you see here, just-in-time delivery schedule created in a scheduling agreement. When you go with this, you would see the just-in-time delivery. You see here, there is one just-in-time delivery. You select this, go with schedule line, release documentation. You see here, these are the ones which are going to be processed as part of just-in-time delivery schedules. Okay, messages per release, in case if you want to go with, you could see LPJ1. This is the message type for the just-in-time delivery schedules. I'll just go and save it. Back once again, you save it. Okay, now once you are done with this, you just have to go with once again that ME84 release documentation. Okay, this time you choose JID, same material, same vendor. Okay, same thing. Okay, without restrictions, I'll just go with it and then remove the test run. Okay, now execute it. You see here, this is also processed. This is release type is just-in-time delivery schedule. Okay, now what you have to do is you have to process /n ME9E. This is for the delivery schedule. What is that? LPJ1. You have to choose LPJ1. LPJ1. This is the one. Go and execute. You should be able to see this, right? So when you go with it, you would see those deliveries which are getting transmitted as part of just-in-time deliveries. Okay, and then when you output it, based on whatever is transmitted, whether you have set your LPJ1 as part of a printout or email or fax or EDI, corresponding document will be transmitted. Okay, so here create release profile, and then you may have to run output the message for, I would say, delivery schedule, right? So these are the steps that you need to process for the scheduling agreement without release with release procedure. Okay, so this is all about scheduling agreements. Any questions on this? I guess couple
Sir,
of
in
people have.
schedule.
Yes, Radhika.
Yeah. Sir, in scheduling agreement, we don't maintain price. Hence, we can negotiate with the vendors, right?
No, you do maintain the price. You do maintain the price. You see, in the scheduling agreement, you do maintain the price. What I said was, in case if you want to refer the contract and create a scheduling agreement, you can do so. If you don't refer the contract, like what I did it, you see here, I maintained the price. Look at here, I maintained the price. Okay, I can even go and maintain the conditions as well. Everything is possible here. What I said was, in case if you want to, take advantage of the central contracts created for the same material at global level, you refer the contract so that the conditions of contract will get defaulted into your scheduling agreement. So therefore, you have to maintain the price. Without price, scheduling agreement can never be created.
Okay. So here we have an option of negotiation, right, with a vendor?
Of course, you can negotiate it.
Yeah. So if you're negotiating, then we have to go back and make the changes there in the price?
Yes, definitely. Whatever conditions that you are negotiating, those things needs to be maintained here.
Okay.
There is no further PO. It's only the scheduling agreement with reference to which you do receipt of material. So therefore, whatever you have negotiated with the vendor, that needs to be maintained in the scheduling agreement itself.
Okay, sir, I got it.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Venkat, we define, we have gone through the time zones. With respect to this, whatever, like for example, where it's when this one features.
Yes, sir. Tell me.
So where we are, how we are enforcing this time zones for this particular scheduling agreement.
Okay. This one, the scheduling agreement, if you specify the form zone, trade-off zone, etc., you see here, binding on MRP. You have to put this one also, whether you wanted to, the binding these things. You see, schedule lines after trade-off zone can be changed by MRP. Schedule lines within trade-off zone can be changed by MRP. So this is interrelated with PP module, and also this will be checked at the time of receipt date. You will be doing goods receipt. If you want to receive the delivery schedule, a certain material with reference to a certain delivery schedule, you have to receipt it. So you will be receiving material with reference to scheduling agreement. At that point of time, what is the posting date, and it looks for the delivery's corresponding delivery schedule date, and in case if there is any deviation, and if this deviation is less than or greater than, these times will be checked during goods receipt time.
So we are not going to convey this time zone. Yeah.
Time zones will be there. It will be conveyed, and if you look at the 1 second.
No, here it shows 00, so that's why just.
Yeah.
Maybe we may not be maintaining those.
You will be maintaining them. You can maintain it actually. So whether these
in this one we are not maintaining that.
Yeah, probably I must have missed it.
Okay, that's fine. So we just.
Okay, so LP01. It's actually being displayed. You can display it on the scheduling agreement also. Why is it not displaying? Created. One second. Message output. Let's say LPH1. We've already seen that. One. One moment. /NME9L. Okay, so NEU, it's already processed, so I put it wrong. So if you go and display it here, we can actually probably the form has not been maintained in such a way that the zones have to come here, but otherwise you can map those form zone, trade-off zone and planning zone information to here, so the agreement itself will state for a certain item there is this time zones maintained. If దీంట్లో మనం మ్యాప్ చేయొచ్చండి, like I said, you have to go with smart form, transaction code, take those things, identify the form for the scheduling agreement and then map it so that they will come on to the
when you print
message.
this one, it's going to come, but at the same time, when you're scheduling agreement creation itself, we need to maintain those values in the time zones, correct?
Correct, because for each of the line, for each of the delivery schedules, you have to.
Okay, that's what I was looking at. That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
No, sir.
This part we will discuss it later while working with MRP. Automatic generation of schedule lines. We have to, do some pre-settings or what we call prerequisites needs to be maintained for MRP. So at that point of time, I'll explain you how to generate schedule lines automatically. Well, if you don't have questions, so let me stop it here, and then we'll meet together same time tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.